We're going to start out with the old Batman. I'll just let everybody know that if you want to see written reviews for a bunch of these books each and every week, go to our website, WeirdScienceDCComics.com, where Sus Gabe goes wild. Eric, did you know that he goes wild?
No
it's like Hulkamania. It is. There are no limitations. There might be Draculas.
He's a Draculas.
We're here, and we are going to start out with the Batmans, and in particular, Eric Batman 139, written by Chip Zdarsky with art by Jorge Jimenez, Temo Moray, Clayton Coles, with a backup art by Jorge Corona. There's 2 stories here, and both are written by Chip Zdarsky. And coming out of the, Night Terrors, then going into the Gotham War, coming out of the Gotham War and getting to this, it kind of has changed. I don't know. It's kind of taken a weird Joker veering path here as we start this out. And the one thing that I want to ask you, and we talked about this a bit after our spotlight this week, the idea, when we were just me and you talking, the idea where the 3 Jokers, like, how many Jokers are there? Now we end up having the Joker book, and they keep referencing Justice League 50 when Batman found out about the 3 Jokers, never referencing the three Jokers. So it seems as if they are pushing that away and just going back to maybe there's 3 Jokers.
Done?
Yeah. Well, it was kind of like a weird little continuity deal, but it did come out of something from Justice League 50. It feels like they're just saying like that didn't happen, that we're just going to go back. And if we end up repeating the story of the 3 Jokers, I think, that's kind of lame. But in this issue, I kind of get that Chip Zdarsky likes to repeat things because we're maybe setting up with the Joker involved, maybe a little Batman Incorporated type story that we had where, Ghostmaker, not Clownmaker, that is me. Ghostmaker ended up having all of his mentors and the people that trained him, get targeted and brought down. And that's what it seems like is happening here a bit. And it's just odd. It's just an odd play. Plus, just going heavy with the Joker, I don't know that that's a great play
especially in the idea that you're going to be doing the 3 Jokers, even though you've already done a book called 3 Jokers, like you reiterated. But then also in The Man Who Stopped Laughing, the Joker book, you already have the 2 Jokers. So it's such a weird synergy that's going on here that's actually doing nobody any favors. And it's weird because I love continuity in between books. If something happens, reference it, please. It's so weird because I feel like we're referencing too much now and nobody knows what to do with it. So they're just saying, okay, this happened, but let's quickly get rid of this or move on to this idea over here because, like you said, it's all being repeated. Like, Chip Zdarsky, he wrote Batman the Night, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
So he wants to reference his own story in this. That makes sense. Put over in Batman Incorporated, we've already done that story. So we're doing this again while also making references to other things that happened in the Gotham War, possibly stuff that happened before Night Terrors and stuff like that. But it doesn't feel like it's doing anything for the story itself. I'm like, you got me in a weird place. I'm like, I should be liking this, but it's doing things over again and not doing it properly.
And I think that now, we're going to get to the Joker, the Man Who Stopped Laughing, the finale at the end of this podcast, something that you kept hoping that you would like more and more. But the idea of it is, I think that if that book didn't exist, and I wish it didn't, Eric, it drove me nuts every month that we have to talk about, but just the idea of the landscape of things, when you end up having that book, we've had Joker now for the past year. Before that, we had the Tynan deal that ended up, ending for that.
Well, even Joker in the Jokers Incorporated and Batman Incorporated right after the whole story arc where they're going after the mentors of Ghostmaker.
It feels like we're over Jokered. It's oversaturated. And if you didn't have those books and we had gone 2 years since we last saw the Joker or more, I think this might have hit better. Like, oh my God, the Joker. But in this, it feels like, I don't know, when you see the Joker show up in this, it starts to feel like, why is the Batman book so desperate to throw these things in? Because we talk about it. If Batman or the Joker shows up in any other book, that means they're trying to get sales. They're desperate. I understand that he's trying to do this story, but I just kind of like the thing with the zur-en-arrh stuff. The multiverse stuff, it was wacky, but let's deal with that. Let's go forward. Let's try to figure some things out. But once you add the Joker, it just feels like kind of a weird reset to then be just Batman Joker story. And
even the one we're doing where the Joker's behind this new zur-en-arrh bit, which I want to think has to deal with Batman and the multiverse story, but it's also, it ends up just feeling like how his motives were in Death of the Family. It's like everybody's making you weak. We have to make you strong again, Batman.
And I've said this since we ended up having zur-en-arrh come out of the Mind deal. That zur-en-arrh, we know, he was there to protect Batman from mind attacks, like mind bullets going at him, Eric. Get him away from those. But this zur-en-arrh did feel, and I've said it each time, it feels like the Joker. It feels like, oh, you're weak, you're weak, you're weak. So when we get the Joker saying the same thing, do you get this play that, and I said to you, we might be getting like a weird deadly duo type feel that maybe the Joker and Batman or zur-en-arrh team up to try to take down the multiversal stuff. And maybe that would be cool. But again, it feels like a story that we already had. And I just don't get it. But at the beginning, I do like two things, right? I like that you're going to get some detective work, but I also like that Batman seems to think he has to dress up like maybe a Jim Gordon-Alfred combo.
Mr. Belvedere.
And that sweet old lady thinks that that's a young guy there. I'm like, she must be 300.
Compared to her.
I mean, holy moly. Stay off that drugs there, young man. Young man, look at this guy. But he goes in and he has a new apartment. This stuff comes out of the Gotham War, and that's pretty cool.
Which is crazy because we're doing this whole thing where Batman is separated from the Bat family at this point in time. He doesn't want to go back to the brownstone because he thinks it's compromised with the rest of the family if they try to stop him. So he has his own separate apartment doing zur-en-arrh things off the grid, going back to basics as Batman by himself. Problem is, when we ended the Gotham War, we had, what was it, Teddy went in there, was like, oh my God, Bruce Wayne is Batman.
So now we'll have to see what goes on with that. And there's a lot of things spinning around here, but I don't know. When I read this, like everything like Batman in this apartment, and then he's going to do it, it didn't feel fresh. It didn't feel like, it didn't have a spark to me because of what we came out of then into this. It's okay. He's got
it almost feels like a Rick Grayson Batman.
Yeah, he has a heck of a wall over there on the side. He actually has two walls that the yard's going back and forth. Like, that's crazy as shit. In the meantime, this one lady did get attacked, and when she ended up screaming and people were aware, that play. Everybody's afraid of the Batmans because he's getting too crazy, right? I just want to know where anybody's like, remember when we were all supposed to be afraid of all these guys after that Night Terrors bullshit? Like, what happened with that? Nobody's afraid of anybody, but he's afraid of Batman. Yeah, I guess he did. They all went back to sleep. They all realized it was just one night. Yeah, well, really, when you have that Night Terrors, you go to bed, the next day don't have the nightmares, then you forget about it. It actually it works out. But yeah, there's Batman, and he's trying to figure out some things, and you see right away, like, and it did kind of surprise me when he says, now I can get down to the real work, figuring out with all these three Jokers. I'm like, what? Like, I thought there was other things that were going on here besides, just throwing in the Joker stuff, especially trying to figure out zur-en-arrh or what's going on. But it does also look like, did he get his hand back? Or is that just that he's like flesh colored?
As soon as you're going to get done saying what you're going to say there, I'm just looking through the book here. I'm like, he has two hands. What is up with that?
Yeah.
Why are we not dealing with the robot hand anymore? Because that part was interesting. Is it just an art problem? Because later on, he will use the hand as a robotic hand and say he's going to use that to stop the guy coming after him. But here, when he's just Bruce Wayne in his apartment, he has two Caucasian-colored hands.
Maybe he just ended up painting it, so it looks better. He got all weirded out, right? So I don't know.
I don't know. It's weird.
You end up, so that's going on, and everything kind of just pushes forward. And I do like some of the scenes, like how they're set up and the idea that he goes, but I can't really tell you. He goes into this one murder scene. He ends up hearing, and the one play is, it's a 720, Eric. It's not a 510. It's a 720. That's Joker.
You explain the situation of this murder mystery with the Joker is leaving clues for Batman. I'm like, look, I am not the world's greatest detective. I thank God that Batman wanted to describe it and actually got to the bottom of it, because you just say these words in front of me like, okay, there's a guy who's hung up against his fireplace, spread out like a bat, and on the ground in front of him are a bunch of bats pinned to the carpet, and there's an N in front of it, which means it has to be a map. Okay, so if I line this up, oh my God, this part behind him, that would be where France is. Oh my God, one of my mentors.
Said France, I'm like, what? And that was what I was going to say. I'm glad you said it. What happens is he ends up hearing 720. That's actually for heroin, Eric. So just remember, 510 meth, 720 heroin.
No.
So you end up here, 720. Oh, man, they even have a code for the Joker. So he's on the deal. And when he gets there, again, I said, I like the setup that he's going to do detective work. My next line was going to be, I don't know what the hell he's saying or doing. At one point when you said, oh, that means France, I'm like, does it? Because I must be dumb. And I really was worried, kind of, because, I'm worried about being a dummy, Eric. I worry all the time. When I ended up, I was going to say, I don't understand a lick of what's going on here and what he's saying. and you were going to say, oh, you idiot, the N is there because that's naturally this, and then France is there and whatever. And I'm like, I had no idea. But the play is here. It's kind of the weird play. You end up, Batman looks like he's doing detective work, right? He's there doing his thing. But really, I can't figure out. So it just ends up like when we get the rush through of I figured this out, boom, because I don't really know what he's saying. And then
I'll trust you, Batman. For some reason, you and the Joker are just playing a different level than me as a reader because you figured out we got to where we need to go, thankfully. But honestly, it felt like, I don't know, too convoluted. I don't know. Like, you want that shit from people like the Riddler and stuff because you want to have some kind of big mystery to show how smart the villains are and how Batman can overcome this. It just, for some reason, I'm like, all right, can we get to where we need to go now? Because you're losing me in all of this.
Yeah, I mean, really, where is oh my God, that's an Ocean Sea Catwoman. I mean, then I'm in, Eric. Then I realize I am smart. But it ends up like that shadow in France. Oh my God, it must be my mentor.
But and it's just local, national. The bat positions are familiar. And the idea that the bat positions are familiar, too, is just crazy. It most lined up to global cities. My God. These are places I've visited when I was young, traveling the world, gaining skills from mentors. If this is the Joker, how would he even know? The shadow was covering a gray painted shadow. Why? What's the significance? The light source. It's where Paris should be, the city of lights. Holy shit, my mentor.
I'm like, what the hell? And then I love the play, because really, if you haven't read The Night, you're screwed. Because then I didn't even remember. I'm like, he's like, oh my God, it must be Lucy. She was that older
lady who was the burglar who got me into cat burglars when I was real young.
I kind of got it, but then when he said I lost it again, but then realized what he's saying. He's like, oh, Joker must have grabbed her because Catwoman is presumed dead. I'm like, all right, is he going after mentors? He's just going after your lady loves? Because we did like when that Lucy showed up and we said, ooh, that's where he got the
fetish. That's a great part, yeah.
The Catwoman. But in this, the idea of, oh my God, the Joker has her. I don't know how he got that. I have no idea. And then it leads to this poor guy's mansion.
Well, it's not even that. It's so funny because this is the guy's place as far as I know, Wilfred Lohmuller. And the idea is he is the heir to the Play East Toys fortune, okay, who was all set up by his grandma, who had a gigantic doll company, giant toy company, and she became a recluse who just had a house of dolls, a gigantic doll house. So she became some kind of like horror icon from what the hell was that movie called where, I think Don't
Star
Breathe
Wars.
Or something like that. But, you pretty much have the idea that Joker then has to leave clues on a baby doll that's at the murder scene that says grandma on the eyes. Honestly, if you have an old crazy woman who has a gigantic dollhouse in Gotham, the creepiest thing you think of, especially when you go into this place, I don't think you need to leave that clue. This is the next step that you would go to for the freaking heir to the Play East Toys, the person who created it.
That would be the deal. I mean, especially because the way that plays. So you get these real obscure things that Batman figures out, but then still at the end, he needs to have grandma on the eyes of a doll, even though, like you said, you have this dollhouse deal, and you get this, narration. Hey, I'm going in here. This was the matriarch.
A gigantic haunted mansion.
Yeah, and she didn't like to, go about. She's recently deceased. Obviously, they haven't gathered up the dolls yet. They're all there. And so when he goes in, the Joker is like yelling from a distance, and then he gets attacked. He gets attacked by a couple dolls. The one he thinks shoots out acid, but it's not. It's actually like a petrol.
Eric, like a gasoline?
Yeah, like a gasoline, but it's purple. It's purple. I don't know. Maybe that's diesel. You end up where then he gets caught on fire. He actually gets away from that. Then a big baby attacks him. I was like, whoa, what's this big baby? And then you end up seeing that it is a guy, one of Joker's deal. But boy, look how big Baby is compared to Batman. When Batman's kicking Big Baby,
it's because he has a gigantic baby head.
Baby's huge. But again, you have that huge head, but the thing's like 9 foot tall. I mean, does he have stilts on? But then you end up, and he thinks it's a Joker, but it's not. It's this guy, Floyd Shannon, like you said, that, hey, the Joker was mad that I ended up ditching him, and here I'm back, and I'm in there.
I'm saying, on top of all this, though, the big thing is going into this, like, obviously, Batman, with the zur-en-arrh influence that he has right now, he needs to get back to basics, and he needs to find the Joker once and for all to stop this, because the Joker's out and about murdering people left and right, and the zur-en-arrh of the brain cannot let this stand. But when he goes to that murder scene, essentially, to find out where the Joker is, the clues that the Joker left for him, he realizes, holy shit, how could the Joker know who my mentors were and where I traveled to train to be the Batman? That's the crazy part of the whole story. And that's what really drives us forward with the idea of like, holy shit, what's going on right now? This is a bigger mystery on our hands that we have to get to the bottom of.
I agree. I think that it might be lost on some people. But even before that, I think that that's what kind of gets me here, where it feels like this is out of nowhere a bit. Not just because this Batman run hasn't really had Joker in it, but the things that Joker has been in, like the Joker, the Man Who Stopped Laughing. Yeah, he's doing stuff and he's, causing things, but that's more for jokes. And then when you get into this and it's the, oh my God, Joker's been killing everybody recently. I'm like, okay, I get it. It's the Joker, but it just
how do you
felt out of
justify
nowhere.
this? When we get to the end of the podcast, we talk about the Joker, the Man Who Stopped Laughing, with the way that the one and only true Joker that we have left looks. Like, is this another one of the three Jokers that we have going on here that's outside of that storyline? Because that guy ended up looking like Titan Joker at the end of Arkham Asylum.
It did. Now, in that, I would guess that they're like,
after they got rid of the
Matthew Rosenberg's book's bullshit, so let's get rid. I don't know. And that's where it gets a little convoluted in my head and doesn't really match up. Not that I'm saying like, oh, we should have had him flying on a blimp because that's how that ended. Or I'm saying that the Joker in that Matthew Rosenberg book is you kind of set that aside. It's this little jokey book. It's doing its story, whatever. But then when you get to this, it's like, man, that Joker is killing everybody. I like when Batman declares, that's the last one. Yeah, I'm like, I don't think that. But the Batman's like really talking a lot of shit right there. Like, you're last. Oh no. These paintings. I really want to know where you end up having like Joker sits down. He's like, okay, I want you to do these sketch painting. Like the idea that you have these things going on, but it's kind of cool. And that's
these paintings of his former mentors that are on the wall. It's like to think they're still shots. This photos are put, like, framed up.
Think that? I'm thinking they're like oil paintings. He's there at like some sort of, I don't know. Do they do oil paintings at the malls nowadays? They did back in the day. Yeah, the malls.
What do the malls have?
Isn't that like the glamour shots? Don't they do the paintings? I'm an old man, Eric. We used to have to sit for paintings. I don't.
We call those caricatures. Those aren't paintings, Jim.
I'm on the roller skates. Jimmy, you like the roller skates. The thing is, I could have gone to the glamour shots that they took the pictures, but I don't want them to steal my soul, Eric. So Batman hears this thing, and again, where there's some neat little things at one point where he lassos the ceiling and pulls it down to jump up. But even so, he ends up hearing Lucy's voice. He ends up hearing the Joker. He goes up. We got TV guy there in bed and realizes, oh, they're not here. This might have been taped. Is it live? I don't know.
And it doesn't matter because Lucy got away in the end.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. And that's kind of the weird play in this whole issue.
The gray shadow.
Not much matters in my mind. It doesn't matter. Like you said, it's intriguing.
The thing is, we need to get to the zur-en-arrh part and what the Joker knows, not only about Bruce Wayne, because we always like to think the idea that Joker knows that Batman is Bruce Wayne. He doesn't care about that.
That's where I think people might lose this.
That's not the interesting part to Batman in his mind. He wants Batman. He doesn't care about Bruce Wayne. He might use Bruce Wayne's idea of him to try to get to Batman's mind like he does here. Like, this is where your parents died, Brucey. This is where the Robin died. This is where Alfred died. This is where Catwoman died. Oh, you're all alone. Everybody comes near you. They all die. You should get rid of your family because everybody's going to die. You have these things here. But the idea of what Joker knows about zur-en-arrh and what he's going to do with that going forward, and the idea of the mentors, how much does the Joker know at this point in time? Because he knows things more than anybody else.
Well, he does. And that's where I think that people, and I saw some people reacting to this. And like you said, for the most part, Joker knows Bruce Wayne's Batman. The reason why it doesn't come up a ton is because he doesn't really
care
to deal with that. Yeah, he doesn't care. He doesn't want anybody else to know either. So it's just kind of there. But I don't know that many people know that. So when they go in this, the big play is how would he know the mentors, even though if he really looked into it. Even if he looked in, the zur-en-arrh part's odd, but you also had that in the Gotham War where out of nowhere, Dick Grayson would just be like, I know zur-en-arrh's in there when nothing was ever said. And I didn't know why he would actually do that. So I'm worried that that's just kind of the thing. But the idea of the mentors, he could have figured out. But most people I saw were like, oh man, this is crazy. Joker knows who Bruce Wayne, Batman, and that. And I'm like, he always does for the most part. So when he has
zur-en-arrh stuff, if you're worried about Dick Grayson, let's just say that Bruce never told them about zur-en-arrh when he was doing that, the whole thing, even when R.I.P. happened and zur-en-arrh came out. But they would all know after fail-safes took over the city and stuff like that. They would all discover what happened and why.
Yeah, but I don't know because fail-safe just showed up because he killed the Penguin. And the Penguin.
But who built fail-safe? The zur-en-arrh.
But that's the deal. But I don't think he ever would have told them that. It's a weird play.
It all goes in the bat box.
I mean, the idea of them saying oh my God, failsafe, that's something that was set up in case Bruce Wayne went too far. You would think that Bruce might have done that as well.
And Tim Drake knew about that.
It was zur-en-arrh. Then you go with it. It's just a weird play here because, like I said, everybody just suddenly was saying to Bruce, I know zur-en-arrh's in there. I know zur-en-arrh. And it felt a little forced here. So I hope that is the big mystery, not just how did he find out the mentors. The zur-en-arrh part's the big part. And so
exactly
the thing about the Joker that I like about this, and I don't love this issue. I like the art and all that, but Joker would like zur-en-arrh. Zur-en-arrh is the Batman.
That's
what he wants. But zur-en-arrh will kill the Joker. So that's a really cool and intriguing thing.
That the zur-en-arrh would kill the Joker because zur-en-arrh is the purest form of Batman. He's a more brutal Batman for how he goes about his tactics. But I don't know if the idea, maybe I'm just not remembering it right from when RIP happened, but I still don't think the zur-en-arrh should be killing people because even the idea of that, it's like zur-en-arrh set up a failsafe if Batman ever crossed the line or killed somebody because that's not what Batman would do. So that's not like he's Batman, the purest form, and Batman doesn't kill people.
Well, here's the weird play. I think that Chip Zdarsky has kind of lost track of what zur-en-arrh really is. Zur-en-arrh was so that he didn't get mind control. Yeah. And now all of a sudden zur-en-arrh is talking crazy. Now, hopefully it'll be explained in a way that you go with, and he's being more violent, yes, but like you said in this, he's like, I'm going to kill that Joker. That feels weird. Like he's been corrupted or it's a different type of deal, but...
does it all go back to that multiversal story when the Joker of that world without a Batman was doing stuff throughout the multiverse, creating Jokers, and we had the zur-en-arrh throughout the multiverse of that whole thing? Because none of that made sense to me, but with that whole idea of what that Joker was doing of that world, did he get corrupted? Was there something that happened to everybody's mind throughout the multiverse,
including maybe the Jokers? And now he's... Because that, like we keep saying here, zur-en-arrh... This isn't really what zur-en-arrh was made to do, but maybe because this failsafe was activated and then you get these weird things and now it just has time on its hands and it wants to do stuff. But zur-en-arrh wants to keep Batman from being taken over, yet he's taking over Batman. And the only thing I can think of, because here, get this, if I ended up, hey, Chip Zdarsky, why would he be all upset like this, zur-en-arrh? What would he do? Because Joker, this isn't he's always fucking with his mind. All right, that works.
I can see the idea of zur-en-arrh. He's the contingency in case Bruce ever loses his mind, with a personality who would come out and continue to be the Batman where Bruce Wayne couldn't be. This is what he is. But what if over all that time through his subconscious, zur-en-arrh wanted to be more and thought that he could be more? He's along the lines of the Joker where the Batman should be doing better without his soldiers. And it's because they should have soldiers and not family. But that's not how Bruce Wayne sees it. So maybe at this point in time, zur-en-arrh does one out of the box.
I like that. But I hope we see more of that because we're getting so far, because we've had some issues here, and all it is more violent. I'm going to kill that. That's not giving me that character work, because really giving character work to a zur-en-arrh would be great. I mean, that would be a really cool deal. And it could, like you said, be that play of Batman. He's getting old. He's kind of getting towards the idea of wanting to hey, I want to retire. Well, what does zur-en-arrh think of that? Because that is kind of killing Batman. But also the idea of what am I going to do then if you're not Batman? So I hope we get more.
Well, we get to the worst part of this whole thing. Because when Batman does confront the Joker, and the Joker talks about how I want zur-en-arrh out, and it seems like he somehow gassed the Batman to the point where zur-en-arrh is able to leave and put Batman in the box himself of the mind, and zur-en-arrh comes out. And the Batman that's inside his subconscious now that zur-en-arh's taken over his body is then confronted with zur-en-arhs throughout the multiverse talking about, we are the ones who are in control. This is the worst part of that multiversal arc that Chip Zdarsky did, because it was just, hey, here's some fan stuff, here's Michael Keaton's zur-en-arh, here's Batman 66
what
zur-en-arh.
People would say, yeah.
And you have that again here of the mind, and at the end of the multiversal story, I don't know what the fuck this means.
I know. It almost, again, maybe, and like I said, this zur-en-arrh does not feel right. Chip Zdarsky's playing, but I said it all along. We talked about it last week, I think, the idea where Chip Zdarsky, he's not quite new to DC, but he is still. And we ended up, when Bendis came, we didn't know, is this him telling a story that's unique, or is he messing something up? If you end up showing that, not even just the Joker knowing things because of the multiversal deal, but all this multiversal stuff with the zur-en-arhs has activated the zur-en-arhs themselves to actually kind of step up, and now they're okay, but you got to get to that. I need to see some things, not just what seems to be wow moments. Let's go find the Joker in an extended scene to then find out that Lucy escaped. I mean, really, that's a lot of this. And then they confront it. It's kind of cool, whatever. And I don't mind the dialogue.
we get the Batman confronting the Joker in a creepy, haunted, as far as I'm concerned, haunted dollhouse. It's a great setting. It's a great backdrop to this whole thing, and it has some intriguing aspects, but it doesn't go all the way
really
to say, man, I can't wait what happens next.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think that at this point,
wacky.
A lot of people are more confused than excited, but that's fine if it ends up paying off. But really,
agreed.
Like I said, you do have a creepy, crazy house. It's great. Joker. Like the idea that Joker could go around and find places to be, this is pretty much a crazy-ass place to be. And even when you look at all the dolls he's made, you see the Gordon there, and you got the Signal.
I know that we have a lot of going on in Gotham over the past few months, even in like continuity timelines. So Batman hasn't been able to do, all the due diligence he might have to. But when you have a matriarch of a doll making fortunes mansion who dies, I'm just saying you put like a bat camera on that because one of your rogues is going to take this place over, especially because it's full of fucking creepy ass dolls. This is Amusement Mile in a house form. You just put a camera on here because somebody's going to use this as a playground.
Yeah, you didn't realize, Eric, autopsy fear toxin. It was you're going to have check how
mixed
she
with a
died.
little Joker toxin.
Yeah, well, find out how she died because I think everybody would have had eyes on this place. I mean, it's fully set up to just go nuts.
I'm telling you, even the idea of like Professor Pig with the Dollatrons, like he's setting up shop here.
Yeah, really. There's a bunch. Toymaker, he's over here. They're all doing their nonsense. And so all of that going down, you're doing all this stuff go Clownmaker. You end up all this stuff happening.
Well, you remember Dollmaker who cut off the Joker's face before, right? Yeah. There's just so many people that could set up shop here besides the Joker.
He probably walked to this place and he's like, yeah, it's too on the money. He's a little more subtle, Eric. It's like, I'm not surface level asshole like that. But yeah, at the end, when you're going and, okay, zur-en-arrh coming to the forefront. And I like it. It really feels a lot like Barbados and the Asthma in the Detective Comics, though. But when zur-en-arrh says, screw it, you sit here cowering, I'm going to take care of this. And he starts to fight the Joker. You really do have like a pretty cool build-up. And like, oh my God, and then you get to the end of it. It's the stupid Batman zur-en-arrhs of the multiverse. I'm like, now I'm confused again because I liked what we were heading to. But we'll see. We'll see what it all means, but then we have a backup, and the backup is pretty much just what we're going to get a couple times this week, right?
Vandal Savage is alive after the Gotham War, but the problem is, after that meteorite came down, he touched it, he said the power, it feels different this time than exploded. We didn't know what happened to a Vandal Savage. Well, apparently his boiled, covered ass made his way back to Wayne Manor, which he now owns, and then healed up because, man, his power is rejuvenated. But because of the meteor coming down and blowing up into a Lazarus pool that's now in the depths of Gotham, he's somehow connected to Gotham. He's not allowed to leave because even though his power is back, he's immortal once again and cannot die. If he leaves the city limits, he loses his power. So it's time to set up shop in Gotham. And that's a very basic backup story, but it lets you know what's going on with Vandal Savage. And it does intrigue me to the point where if we do have Vandal Savage, who is now strictly tied to Gotham, it's kind of cool because then you will have almost a Lex Luthor-esque villain in Gotham for Batman to have who could set up like corporations and stuff. Because even like when we had Underworld Unleashed,
before though. I mean,
he could have done that.
It's just play
during Underworld Unleashed in the '90s, during the Ray book. Like Vandal Savage had his own company and stuff that the Ray ended up working for. He was like he knew who Neron was and was doing all this back alley deals. Like I don't want to have any parts of you really, but. This guy, the idea of this man who's been alive forever and all the wealth that he's collected, he should have these corporations. I thought back to that. I thought, this could be cool for Gotham and Bruce Wayne got Batman as a whole.
Here's my player. We did this stupid Gotham War, ended with a thud. You end up where Catwoman, oh my God, she's not dead. Oh, Jason Todd's died. He's not dead. Oh, but his mind control later on, we'll talk about that. And then you get this. I mean, we're only weeks away. And by the way, Vandal Savage, he survived too. Like you have already wiped out everything that really was big in the
we have a
little
Lazarus
bit.
Pit.
Well, we do, but you even said, what does that do, and why do we need it? But you end up having Vandal Savage at one point. He's riding, on that horse like he's Fabio. I didn't mind that. He wakes up nude.
Yeah. Covered in boils, but he heals.
I'm going to ask you, the idea, it's weird, too. At first, he didn't look like he had any boils. Then all of a sudden, he did. I'm like, oh, okay. But when you're going through this, what do people think just happened in Gotham? What is the idea of the normal Eric Shea and Jim Warner
well, that's
in
the
Gotham?
Thing is, look,
what is just
I got to go to
happened?
work. There's a meteor that came down on the top of the hill at the observatory that then blowed up and has, some Lazarus fluid leaking down there. I still got work to do. I ain't got time to worry about that shit. It's not in my area.
was anybody, well, Blackpink might be. You end up where all that, were there like cameras on Vandal Savage going around slicing and dicing people? Like everything seems to be pushed aside to just say, okay, it happens. I said night terrors. Everybody's afraid of the Justice League and all the heroes. No, they're not. It didn't work. Now we have this and like, oh, well, I'm stuck here at Gotham, back to the mansion. Like even the idea that people might be like a Batman. Well, I got to keep tabs to see if Vandal Savage actually did survive or didn't. All he has to do is wait in the manor. All he has to do is wait in the field and look to see, because he goes right back there and he's like, yep, back to business, as if.
But we got Joker to worry about.
Doesn't matter. And yeah, then you have the Joker he's worrying about because
3 Jokers, Jim. The Riddler told him.
2 seconds after that damn meteor hit, everybody forgot about all this shit and went on their own business like they're doing. It's just odd. It's just, again, coupled with the idea in this issue reminding everybody, ooh, the Joker thought that maybe Selina died, but she's not. Hey, by the way, Vandal Savage,
at this point, everybody thinks that Selina died. Well, except for Batman.
Again, I wish that we thought that until, we got something big. Vandal Savage, you might have been able to, like...
It's like we talked about before, at the end of the Gotham War, like we referenced the idea when Tim Drake died and James Tynion's Detective, where it's like, oh my god, he died. You turn the page, oh no, he's alive in a freaking prison in a pocket universe. Well, you could have let that go for a little bit longer,
Yeah, you could have let it go. I mean, I know that everybody was real worried if Vandal Savage survived, but and we knew he would, but...
Well, that's the thing is, we've seen Vandal Savage die when freaking, like, Lex took that totality piece and beat him over the head with it, and then he came back because he just came back.
Again, and this is the thing, I was going to make a video at one point, I never did. Maybe I will, Eric. But it's the idea of, does death in comics mean anything? And I'm not saying the idea, do people come back? I'm saying, does it ever mean anything? Because they end up bringing them back too soon.
People in comics don't think so anymore.
Like the idea where you talk about when Barry Allen died, he was dead for almost your whole childhood.
It's my entire childhood, and like even into my 20s.
That means something. None of this means anything when you can't even wait. Mainly, you can't even wait till an issue finishes because it seems like DC's so afraid that people are going to get upset or something, but that's how you set up stories. The idea that Vandal Savage comes back, to me, it would have been way better that, yeah, he's back. We don't know it. And shit starts happening. I wonder what that is. How is that happening? And then we find out, 6 months from now, oh shit, Vandal Savage survived and has been pulling the strings like a Lex Luthor, but from behind the scenes. But instead you see him riding a horse like Fabio. And then the big play is he's connected to Gotham. What does that really do? I know you say it's cool, but what does it do? I mean, the guy bought a mansion. I think
it could be cool.
He bought a house. He bought the mansion where the Batcave was underneath. I don't think he was leaving anyway. He's there, and now it's like, oh, I can't leave now. Really?
Look, I think he actually planned on leaving before he told he couldn't leave.
Well, he did. He was riding a horse all over the place. But why? Why is this like, oh, well,
he just got his ass kicked.
That. He's like, oh, well, I might as well go back to that multi-million-dollar mansion that I have and take a shower and get dressed up, and it looks like it's time for work.
And honestly, I don't think he cares about Gotham, because I think he was only here just to get his power back and move on.
There's one reason I think that he's here and stuck in Gotham, because you're setting up his big feud is with Raish, and Raish is back somewhat. He's been in books. Yeah. And when he shows up, Raish has a hard-on for Gotham, and there's a Lazarus pit there. I mean, they're going to have a turf war here. It's going to be East Coast, West Coast Immortals. You're going to have it. You finally get it, the War for the Immortals, Eric. But yeah, that's why I think he's there to set up a deal, or maybe he makes a deal with Raish and they set up. It is kind of a funny play, like almost like the Arkham Manor when they turned Bruce Wayne's manor into the Arkham Asylum. Now it's just going to be like the League of Shadows headquarters or something. I mean, Randall was trying to start his
how about this? We have Vandal Savage in the back of this. I don't know what that means for the rest of the Batman book for the story that we're telling currently. But do you think that Ra's al Ghul shows up here first, or do you think he shows up the detective first to take on Prince Ars and explain why he killed his daddy?
Well, I don't know. I think it would be here now because it would make sense in detective, but I don't know. It's easier, I think, to explain it here because of now Vandal and that whole thing of the meteorite pieces coming together. I don't know, but we'll have to see. And I still think that maybe Chip Zdarsky or other people don't realize that Raish has kind of come back already, and they'll try to...
I don't think most people realize that.
So you end up, and even in Lazarus Planet, he was around, and even before that. So you end up where, what's going on? We'll see, but I don't know. At the end, I'm like, all right, Vandal's stuck in Gotham, and we have a bunch of multiversal zur-en-arrhs. We'll have to see what's going on. It's intriguing, but I don't know if it's satisfying here. You know what I mean? It's setting up some things that might play off. What would you give it?
Ultimately, I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10. I think the art is strong throughout. There's a lot of intriguing things to it, but by the end, we just get back to the worst part of the story that we had before Night Terrors that I hated. I'm like, can we please get to something that's coherent and just not off the wall kind of like multiversal zur-en-arrh of the mind? Because I didn't know what it meant before. I don't know what it means here. And even the idea, like, I feel like we spent too long with the Batman finding Joker. Yes, you want to see Batman be the world's greatest detective, but it feels like it went on a little bit too long, even though I ended up enjoying the backdrop and where we got to with the Joker and the intrigue of him knowing as much as he does. I want to see where that goes, but it just took too long to come to a corny kind of ending. And I don't mind the Vandal Savage backup overall. It's just, what are we going to do with that?
Yeah, what's going to come from that? What's going to happen? It might only just be kind of like, hey, this is a quick epilogue to what happened so we know he's alive, and maybe we don't see anything for a while there about, maybe. But I don't know. We'll have to see.
We're doing with Mind Bomb, Jim.
I don't know. I'm 6 out of 10, so a little bit less than you, but I did like the art, liked it in both stories. And like I said, intrigued, but not exactly satisfied.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.